I'm 78 years old, and I regret moving into a nursing home. Here's why. At 78, I've learned a lot in life, but there's one decision I truly regret: moving into a nursing home. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing. My family encouraged me, promised I'd be well taken care of, and that life would be comfortable. I believed them, but the moment I stepped in, I quickly realized everything was nothing like I imagined. I know you or someone you love might be considering this option, maybe because you think it's the safe choice, or because someone said life would be easier. But before you make that decision, I want to share 6 things I wish someone had told me before I moved in here. Because the truth is, living in a nursing home isn't just about convenience. Change is everything. And once you're in, leaving isn't as easy as you might think. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm about to share may surprise you. And if you know someone who's thinking about moving into a nursing home, this might be exactly what they need to hear before making a life-changing decision. Regret number 1: losing my independence. The biggest shock after moving into a nursing home wasn't the small room, the fixed meal times, or the unfamiliar faces. It was the realization that I had lost control over my own life. Before I moved in, I had my own routines. I decided when to wake up, when to eat, and how to spend my day. I could take a walk whenever I felt like it, cook my favorite meals, or simply sit quietly in my favorite chair with a book. But once I entered the nursing home, I quickly realized that my time was no longer mine. Everything followed a schedule, but not my schedule. Breakfast was served at a specific hour, even if I wasn't hungry. Lights were turned off at a set time, even if I wasn't ready to sleep. Want to go for a walk? You might need permission, and you'll likely have to wait until someone is available to assist you. Simple choices like what to eat or what to wear started to feel like privileges, not basic rights. I still remember my first week there. That morning, I woke up in a bed that didn't feel like mine. I stretched, reached for the book I had been reading at home, but when I looked around, it hit me. This wasn't my home. My books, my chair, the little comforts I had spent years collecting, gone. In their place were sterile walls, a bed I didn't choose, and a heavy feeling I couldn't shake. I was no longer in charge of my own life. The hardest part? Realizing that once you give up your independence, getting it back is almost impossible. You adjust because you have to. You stop questioning what's for dinner. You stop asking to go outside. You learn to fit into their system. And in doing so, you slowly lose yourself. If you're thinking about a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make life feel like it's yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever imagined. Regret number 2: feeling forgotten. One of the hardest truths about living in a nursing home is realizing that the world outside keeps moving without you. When I first arrived, my family reassured me they'd visit often. And at first they did. My daughter came by weekly, my grandchildren visited on weekends. For a little while, I still felt connected to the life I had left behind. But as time passed, the visits became less frequent. My daughter started calling instead of coming. The grandkids got busy with school and work. Holidays were the hardest. Everyone promised to come, but somehow plans always changed. I found myself sitting alone in the common room, watching others stare at the door, hoping today someone would remember them. It's not that my family stopped loving me. Life just got in the way. When you're no longer seen every day, it's easy for people to assume you're fine, that you're adjusting, that you don't need as much anymore. But the truth is, the longer you're in a nursing home, the easier it is for people to forget just how much you still need them. I remember one evening, sitting in my room with my phone in hand. I debated whether to call my son. I didn't want to be a burden, didn't want to remind him that I was still here, waiting for a visit that might never come. So I put the phone down. And that's when it hit me. This was my life now. Watching the days pass, hoping someone would remember I still exist. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the loneliness? Because no matter how much your family loves you, once you're out of sight, it's easier than you think to become out of mind. If you're still watching this video and these insights resonate with you, leave a comment with the number 2 so I know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to hit that button so you don't miss out on stories that truly matter. Regret number 3. Losing my sense of purpose. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was just changing my address. But I didn't realize I was also changing my reason for living. At home I had responsibilities. I had routines, hobbies, and small tasks that gave me purpose. Watering the plants, making my morning coffee, tidying my little space. All these things made me feel useful, alive. But in the nursing home, those rituals vanished. Meals were brought to me. My room was cleaned by someone else. The plants, they weren't mine to care for anymore. At first, I told myself it was nice to finally relax. No chores. No stress. Just rest. But after a few weeks, something felt off. The days felt longer. Stretched out with nothing to look forward to except waiting. And I wasn't the only one. I saw it in other residents, people who once had energy and passion, now just sitting staring, watching the hours go by. There was a man named George, 84 years old, a carpenter his whole life. Back home, he was always fixing things, building small projects in his garage. But here there were no tools. No workbench. Nothing to build. I watched him slowly withdraw. The hands that once crafted so much now sat idle in his lap. I feel useless, he told me one day. And I knew exactly what he meant. When you no longer have something to care for, something to look forward to, life starts to lose meaning. The mind slows down. The body follows. And before long, you feel like just another name in a place where time moves, but nothing really changes. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, what gives your life meaning? Because once you move in, finding purpose isn't as simple as just staying busy. It's a fight to hold on to the things that remind you that you're still alive. Regret number 4. Declining health. Faster than I ever expected. My strength and mobility were disappearing faster than I could have imagined. And it wasn't just me, I saw it happen to others too. People who walked in on their own 2 feet were suddenly relying on wheelchairs. People who were once independent now needed help with things they never struggled with before. The more help we were given, the more help we seemed to need. I remember my neighbor Alice, an 81-year-old woman, full of life when she first arrived. She used to walk around the facility every day proudly saying, "Just because I'm getting older doesn't mean I'm slowing down." But after a few months, I noticed she wasn't walking as much. Then came the walker. Then the wheelchair. One day she looked at me and said, "I don't even know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." And that's exactly what it felt like. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. In a place where everything is designed to make life easier, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience. It's about survival. If I had known how quickly I'd lose my strength, I would have fought harder to keep moving, to stay active, to push myself even on days I didn't feel like it. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, will you still have the motivation to keep your body strong when everything around you is designed to make life effortless? Because once you slow down, getting back up isn't as easy as it sounds. If you're still watching and find this message valuable, comment the number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It helps us keep creating meaningful content to inform and inspire. Regret number 5. Losing my privacy and dignity. One thing I didn't fully consider before moving into a nursing home was how much of my privacy I'd lose. At home I had my own space. I could close the door, enjoy silence, and live on my own terms. But in a nursing home, privacy becomes a luxury, not a guarantee. From the day I arrived, I felt like I was always being watched. Staff coming in and out. Scheduled room checks. Shared spaces where you're rarely ever alone. Even the most basic tasks, getting dressed, using the bathroom, often required help. I knew the staff were just doing their jobs. But it's not easy to accept help for things you've done independently your whole life. I remember my first week struggling with the idea that I had to ask for permission to do what once came naturally. Want a shower? You might have to wait until someone is available. Need to use the restroom? Press a button, and hope help comes quickly. And if you don't like the meal on the menu that day, well, tough luck. Then there's the matter of roommates. Not everyone gets a private room. Sharing a space with someone you didn't choose can be frustrating. I was lucky to have a kind roommate, but others weren't so fortunate. Loud, unclean, or struggling mentally to the point that peaceful sleep became impossible. No matter how hard you try to make your room feel like home, it never truly is. Dignity is a hard thing to lose. And I didn't realize how much of mine I'd have to surrender until it was already gone. When people knock but don't wait for your response before entering. When you're spoken to like a patient instead of a person. When your days are dictated by a schedule you didn't create. Changes you. You stop feeling like yourself and more like just another name on the list. If you're thinking about a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared to give up the privacy and control you've had your entire life? Because once it's gone, it's not easy to get back. Regret number 6. Realizing it's harder to leave than you think. When I first moved in, I told myself it was only temporary. Just a trial. If I didn't like it, I could leave. But what I didn't realize was just how hard it would be to get out once I was in. First it seemed simple. If I didn't like it, I'd go back home. But home wasn't the same anymore. My house had sat empty for months. Maintaining it from afar had become a burden. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting it out. When I mentioned the idea of moving back, they hesitated. Are you sure you can manage on your own? Wouldn't it be safer to stay? We just want what's best for you. And then there was my health. After months of living in a place where I didn't cook, didn't clean, didn't walk far, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. The independence I once had was slowly slipping away. And the idea of going back to managing everything on my own became overwhelming. That fear kept me stuck. I met others who felt the same. They came in thinking it was a short stay, but leaving turned out to be harder than anyone expected. The longer you stay, the harder it is to adjust to life outside. Some people even lost the option entirely. Their homes sold, their savings drained by the cost of care. There was no going back. That's the part no one tells you. Moving in feels like a decision you can undo. But for many it isn't. The nursing home slowly becomes your whole world. And before you know it, the life you once lived becomes a distant memory. If you're thinking about a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready for the possibility that once you move in, leaving may no longer be an option? Because once you settle in, the barriers to leaving, financial, physical, or emotional, can be far greater than you ever imagined. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment the number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly encourage you to do so and turn on the bell, so you won't miss any future videos. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire. Final thoughts. Looking back, I don't regret growing older. But I do regret believing that a nursing home was my only option. I walked in expecting comfort, safety, and a better quality of life. But what I found instead was a place that slowly took away my independence, my privacy, my purpose, and even my sense of self. Does that mean nursing homes are all bad? Not necessarily. Some people genuinely need the level of care they provide. But before you make that decision, think carefully about what you're giving up. Because once you move in, life will never be the same. If I could go back, I would have fought harder to stay in my own home. I would have explored more ways to get help without giving up my freedom. And I would have made absolutely sure I needed to be there before making such a life-changing move. So if you're facing this decision right now, I urge you to pause and ask yourself, is this truly what's best for me? Or is it just what seems easiest right now? Because the life you have today, your routines, your independence, your choices, is something worth holding on to for as long as you can. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today. and how you plan to apply it to your own life. Your thoughts mean a lot to us, and reading your stories gives us the motivation to keep creating. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support allows us to continue making videos that truly matter. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.